Thank you, Sir Will. I'm going to ask everyone to turn on their cameras where possible. Um, Trying an outdoor kind of feel, one with nature. All right, so welcome. I see some familiar faces. Lady Malcolm, Sir Malachi, Mr. Record, Lady Jeanette, Patricia Reedwaugh, and of course, Lady Bent. We will start officially, and then as the workshop progresses, we certainly hope to have more persons on board. So, all right, let us welcome the ancestors. So we start off with our workshop prayer, and it says, Heavenly Father, Creator, we're grateful for life, for inspiration, for love, for another year, a year that is filled with possibilities, opportunities, and promise. As we start part 1 of 3 in the playwriting category in the workshop series, we ask that you continue to inspire us, love us, and write your way into our hearts. For that you have, for all that you have done, continue to do, promise to do, we give thanks. All right, so as is customary, we talk about the objective of the creative writing competition, and its primary focus is to unearth, discover, and showcase the writers, Jamaican writers. And so with that in mind, we hope to improve the writers, and Mr. Eugene Williams here was one of the adjudicators in the playwriting category, in the play category, sorry. And as a result of that, we asked him if he could sort out a workshop for us. Now, what he did do, he said to me, well, it's kind of difficult to have playwriting over Zoom, but we will try. And he thought best that it be done on 3 parts. And so this part, we're exploring the core tenets or the structure. And then the next part, we're looking at the homework which he will give you. I won't preempt him. And then in the final part, we will look at the play. So over the 3 parts, you will actually be writing a play, a 10-minute play, I believe it is. Okay, as is customary, so what we're gonna do is just talk about the general workshop rules, and we, like I said, nothing but nature outside. So participants should be courteous, and you have been doing that all week. Participants must be open-minded to different perspectives and are encouraged to actively participate. Participants should be present in the workshop session. And especially for this session, your presence, your interactiveness is absolutely important. Unhelpful negative comments certainly will not be tolerated. And due to the limited time constraint, the workshop facilitator may not be able to address all your concerns, but will strive to do so over the 3 parts, and as well as to answer as many questions as possible. Participants are encouraged to maintain an open communication always, and a gentle reminder that the workshop is an empowerment tool and not a tutorial. Having said so, ladies and gentlemen, our facilitator for today is Mr. Eugene Williams. I met him many moons ago when I just started the School of Drama. He is a renowned and an award-winning director across the globe, not just Caribbean, a dramaturge and former head of the Edna Manley School of Drama, and also currently a lecturer at the School of Drama, focusing on playwriting, and I'm sure he will add to that. And the biggest thing of all of his accomplishment is that he's one proud papa. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I turn over to the capable hands of Mr. Eugene Williams, who will walk us through the various tenets of playwriting. Sir Williams, over to you.
Thank you, Damian. Are you seeing me? Because I'm not seeing me.
I'm seeing you. I think we're all seeing you.
Okay. Okay. Well, yes, as Damian said, this workshop will happen in 3 sessions. Today will basically be a couple of things that you need to take note of. Next week, we're going to be continuing that and doing some reading. And then on the final one, you will bring in your written play, and we're going to be reading it. So you're going to be more active in a way next week and the following week. I can share my screen, right? I don't need to, you need to do anything.
So let me just ensure that you get sharing privileges. Yes, you can do so now.
Okay. So thankfully I didn't have to introduce myself. Damien just did that. I would like to know who I'm talking to. There are a couple of people that I recognize and others that I don't. I see in the house the gentleman who taught me playwriting. I don't know why he's here, because he's the man with all the knowledge. And then there's a friend and colleague, Jeanette Campbell. So what I would like to happen now, before we go any further, because I would like to call names from time to time as we go through, if I have a question. I would like to ask everyone to introduce themselves. So can we go to Audrey first?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I dabble a little in poetry, and I've always been interested in playwriting. So that's my main reason for being here this afternoon. And I hope I will learn something that will help me to construct a decent play.
Okay. Malachi, is this the Malachi Smith that I know?
Yeah, it's the same Malachi Eugene. We appeared in Romeo and Juliet together.
Yes.
That is Malachi.
And yourself a playwright, so you know a thing or two about this business.
Right. So I write in all genres: poetry, playwriting, short stories, songs, the whole gamut. So. And I know Michael very well too. Yes, so I feel at home.
Okay, I see somebody named Junior. Can you give us your first name and put on your camera? I love to see faces. Junior not there again? Junior, go on. All right, let's go to Jeffet.
All right, good afternoon. Right, Jeffet Williams. Love poetry, never gone into anything like playwright or acting or anything of that sort. I'm a committee leader, chairman of the Greater Portmore Joint Council, which is a CDC within the Greater Portmore space. And the opportunity presents itself, and I say, why not jump in and join in to see what it is about? So I am here.
Thank you, Japhet. Tisha?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tisha Smith, and I'm just here to learn something new. Sorry, I can't turn on my camera. This device doesn't, the camera for this device does not work.
Okay.
Mhm.
Can we have Suzette? Suzette, you there?
She was in and out.
I am here. Hello?
Go ahead.
Yes, I entered a play this year, but I think I am not as playwriting is very new to me. And I would really like to be empowered more about how to do plays. I have different kinds of ideas, but how to bring it across is a challenge.
Yeah. Michael, everybody knows you, but we're not too sure. So maybe you can say a little bit about yourself.
Good evening. Good afternoon, Eugene. Good afternoon, Damian. Good afternoon, everybody else. I am a writer. I'm an educator. I'm a minister of religion as well. And I can't turn on my camera right now because it's very hot where I am. You won't be able to see me turn it on. But the picture that you see is a younger version of what I am now.
Okay.
Long ago, I used to teach Eugene Williams the rudiments of playwriting. And I hope to write a little something that he can turn the tables on me and criticize the way that I used to criticize his work.
Okay, Michael, thank you.
Right.
Jeanette, are you still with us? Jeanette?
A gentle reminder, ladies and gentlemen, that I've added the registration in the chat. So please go ahead and register. Thanks.
Okay, can we have Patricia? Is Patricia still with us? I saw her earlier. I'm not sure I'm seeing her now. It doesn't seem as though she's here. Conliffe, is that the name? Conliffe?
Yes, it is. Are you hearing me?
Yes, no.
Okay, having some technical difficulties that just got on. Not certain what the activity is. Just to say I'm glad to be here, hoping to stay as long as the system allows me to stay. Interested in all aspects of creative writing, whether it be poetry, drama. So just interested in what is happening and eager to soak in as much as possible.
Okay, good. Is that everyone? Did we have Tisha was here, but she has left?
I think Tig Ox.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Hi.
Yes.
My pen name is Tygox. My birth name is Dawn. Okay. By trade, I'm an IT specialist, but what I do a lot of is to write poetry. So I've written books and stuff, and I've written some short stories. I had the experience of doing 2 radio drama series with Paul Beal. So we worked together, and pretty much it's like a play that is not going to be visualized. So it took a little bit more effort to get sound effects and so forth. And I was intrigued by that. And then I wonder if one day I could actually write the play from scratch, because I did a lot of editing. I helped him develop it. I gave him the content and so forth, but I didn't do it from scratch. And I'm sure everybody knows that Paul has passed. So I was saying, well, let me see if I can pick up the skill as a poet and as a writer. Playwright, never done it before from scratch, but intrigued.
Okay, thank you, Don. And I think that is
Hello.
everyone. Hello? I
Yeah,
think
I'm
that,
sorry. This is Junior. Ernest Longmore is the name. Right.
okay.
When you called on me before, I didn't have the opportunity. I didn't get the opportunity to answer.
What was the name you
Right. So
prefer?
my sister sent me this link. I don't know anything about playwriting.
Mm. What's the name you prefer to be called?
So I'm just here to learn as you can just say Junior or Longmore, whichever.
Junior is fine. Okay. Okay, so you don't know anything. Your sister sent you the link, and you're here.
Right.
Are you
Right.
are you going to be here for the 3 days, the 3 sessions?
That is the intention.
Good. Is there anybody who is just planning to be here today and not the other two? Or put it another way, is there anyone who is not going to come to all 3 sessions?
While we wait for the response, I just want to welcome everyone on YouTube. And the chat is open on YouTube. We do check it, so you can go on over there and make your comments, and I read them to the facilitator.
Okay, all right, I'll just put up the syllabus so you can see it. I can get around to sharing the screen. I'm not too savvy with the technology. Damn.
Just a gentle reminder that Mr. Williams's sessions will be on Saturday. So next Saturday we have part 2, and then we close on the 29th of January with part 3, where he will be watching or rather reading along with you your play that you're going to write over this series.
Okay, are you seeing my screen? Everyone seeing my screen?
Oh. Yeah, I am.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Eugene.
All right, some of you have shaky, it seems to me, internet. It's difficult for me to understand what you're saying. All right, so the aim is 1, 2, 3, 4. You introduce you to the fundamental principles, elements of, and the process of playwriting, to offer some guidance in the writing of a synopsis for a story, to facilitate understanding and construction of plot, incident, a central theme over the 3 days, to introduce you to the ingredients of character. So today we're gonna deal with the 1 to 8. Then you'll have some homework. A critical thing about learning playwriting is that you have to write. It makes no sense coming to a playwriting workshop to take notes only. You have to write, because it's your writing will become part of the workshop. Critically, since as everybody said, they're really interested, even though they're coming to playwriting for the first time, making notes is very important. So I hope you all have, well, not you all, Mr. Record perhaps doesn't need to, have a notebook so you could refer back to things, because there are things that we're going to talk about that we wouldn't get around to in 3 days, right? Particularly when we come to the reading sessions, that's that day when we're going to read people's work. The entire session will probably be about reading. We start some reading next session, as well, one of the things I'm going to provide is a scene from a play. An important part of writing is reading. Reading generally, whether it be fiction or non-fiction, but particularly reading plays. It's a major facilitator. Your reading, your knowing of how a play works. Some plays are not suitable for stage. They're probably radio plays. Some plays are perhaps just suitable to go into a cupboard somewhere. They're entirely literary. So it's important for you to read. And of course, very important for you to see theater, all right? Because particularly in this dispensation, most of us are exposed to film than we are plays, and it's two different media. So you need to read plays, or else you're going to find yourself writing a movie and thinking it's a play. All right, so there will be homework, and then you have to for next session. If I get through what we have planned for today, you'll have to do a synopsis of a story. So we're going to be reading that, and we're going to be looking at some other things, and then there'll be the final session, for which you'll write a 10-minute play, and that will be read in the final session. And we will talk in that final session about possibilities of extending the play, either as it will be a 2-character play. We'll talk about extending it possibly as a 3-character play or more than 3. We look at writing direct conflict in the 10-minute play, and talk about modulated conflict, 3 characters or more. And I have here, I don't know if there's a way, Damien, you can collect people's email addresses, and I can send you these recommended readings if you can't copy them off in a jiffy here and now, because you need to read about the craft. Okay. Any questions about the syllabus? No questions. Okay. So let me just take this off. How do I take this off now? Take that off. All right. Are you seeing the new thing that just went up? Hello?
Yes, you can. Yes.
Right. I wanted to ask about your expectations, but I think most people kind of mentioned what they expect to get. Is there anybody that wants to add anything about your expectations for the workshop? Nobody. Okay. Let's go to.
Sorry, Eugene. I just wanted to ask if you would be touching on the connection between directing a play and writing a play, because quite often people who are writing also try to direct the play. And very recently, Basil Dawkins, a mutual friend of ours, said to me, Michael, the play that you sent to me recently have too much stage directions in it. And he's a producer, and he knows what he's talking about. I don't produce plays so much, but you do direct them. So I'd love you to mention that.
Yes, I will. And we'll also mention, and I'm sure will come up in your own writing, meaning the group, to what extent you put stage directions in a play. Because we have to recognize that when a play is being produced, you have a collective exercise between various artists, director, actor, set designer, costume designer, and you have to be careful. You have to recognize that, and don't try to tell the actors how to feel or everything they must do, where to move, and all of that. But we'll get to those details. Okay, so welcome, and I want to deal with some basic vocabulary that those of you who don't know them, I want to ask you to put them down in your notebook. But before we go to that, I want to ask a question of those people who haven't had experience in production. What they consider to be the one essential ingredient of a play. I think it was Don who had worked with Paul Beal.
That's correct.
But Don, what would you say is the essential ingredient? What is that thing that a play must have, or else it can't be a play?
Realistic. When the audience is there, they must feel like they're part of it. They must feel that they can relate to it. It must be relatable.
Right. Now, if you can think of a play as a pot of food, what is the ingredient that you must put in it to make it a play?
Spicy.
Sorry?
Spicy.
Spicy. Anybody else? Malachi.
Well, off the bat, you have to put water in there because it's a pot, right? Unless you're going to cook it.
Yeah, no, but talk to me in terms of a play.
Picking a pillow.
Well, you'd have conflict, definitely. Conflict, tension.
Character.
Yeah. The one thing that it must have.
And the dialogue.
Dialogue.
How about the content?
Well, the content is everything.
Yes.
I would say a setting. Setting, must have a setting.
Mm-hmm.
And the other S, Malachi, story.
Yeah. Okay, so there are a lot of ingredients that you put in there. But the one thing I remember, it was probably my first class with Michael, when he asked that question. And the answer was conflict, which Malachi said. It must have conflict. A play has a man with a problem. Play has a man or woman with a problem.
That was said to me by the immortal Dennis Scott.
Dennis Scott. So a man or a woman with a problem, or a man or a woman in a mess. If your characters don't have problems, and more so your leading character don't have a problem, you don't have a play, right? It's probably happening in heaven, where there's probably no drama because nobody don't have no problem, presumably, right?
But there was a play there because they have God and Satan decide to challenge him.
Satan won't be in heaven.
So the father had to resolve it by kicking him out, right?
Right.
Malachi, that was part one. Eugene's talking about part two now. The continuation.
Right? So you want problems, and it's the problems that generate conflict. It is even said that it's not so much conflict, but crises is a more essential ingredient. You see this a lot in movies. You see a whole scene, and a crisis comes up, that there probably there's no central conflict that is going through. but a series of crises. All right? Conflict make crises. Think of crises as that essential thing that comes out of conflict. But it's probably, as one playwright said, it's probably more apt to say that an essential ingredient is crises. So I want you to make a note of that. You're writing your play, you have to ask yourself, what is your character's problem? If the character doesn't have a problem, then you need to go and come again, read and come again. And that essential ingredient, we're going to see that character in crisis or conflict. All right? This is important to say up front, because when you have not paid attention directly to what makes a play a play, and you've seen plays or you've seen movies, people are often duped into feeling that a play is about dialogue, essentially. That once you can write dialogue, once you can write 2 people talking or 3 people talking, you have a scene. No, it's not about dialogue, right? You can have a play without dialogue, but you can't have a play without crisis, right? So conflict is a critical thing. So I'm going to ask you, when you go home tonight or between now and next week, when we meet again, you look at movies, because there are no plays to be seen. You look for what and ask yourself, what is the conflict in this play? What's the conflict in this scene? What's the crisis in this scene? And notice that there's a crisis in virtually every scene in a movie, if not a conflict. All right? You have a character that has a problem and is trying to solve it, and in so doing, he's playing an intent. He or she is playing an intention. He wants something, and he has an obstacle. As a result, he has conflict or crisis. Those are the essential things at the core of the drama, right? I would add one more: dramatic action. And I've come to consider dramatic action to be consequential action, meaning the thing that causes the play to move. If you notice, a play starts in one place, the story starts one place, and it moves during the play or the movie to the end. It progresses. And action comes about by a character having an intention and playing an action to achieve whatever that objective is, and another character doing likewise. And in that process, you have consequential action. If you find yourself writing dialogue, I've seen plays like this. You're writing dialogue, 2 people talking, one person says A, B, C, the other one says C, D, E, and they're going on like that. They're chatting, and it's not going anywhere. That is not dialogue, nor is it progression. It doesn't have dramatic action, right? So it has to progress. And I'm going to show you an example of, as we go along, a scene that has been written with dialogue, interesting dialogue, nice dialogue. But it's not really dialogue, it's conversation. Because dialogue is more about having a difference of opinion. When we talk, for instance, politically about dialogue at the heart of democracy, that is what we're talking about. To have progression, we have to accommodate different perspectives, which creates conflict. But we have to negotiate and negotiate that conflict and move on. That is dialogue. So I think of dialogue being at the heart of dramatic action, and dramatic action being consequential action. You're going to see this more concretely as we proceed. So that is a couple core things to understand from now, that a play is not about dialogue or conversation. I like to say that all the characters doing is chatting. They're not having dialogue. All right, so that's crucial.
So Williams, Sorry to disturb. Is it possible for you to turn your PowerPoint into a slideshow?
Don't you're gonna confuse me then now.
Okay. It says slideshow at the top, right under the search bar.
Slideshow, slideshow, slideshow. Yes.
Yes.
I've clicked on it. What do I do next?
And then you click the second button that says from current slide. It's on your left-hand side.
Current slide.
Yeah.
Click on, and I'm set.
Perfect.
Okay.
And so what you can do now is use the left or right arrow on your keyboard to navigate.
Oh God.
Or you can click.
All right. So
Thank you, sir.
we're going now to the vocabulary. And just as we said, that there are certain critical ingredients. I have some vocabulary that I want you to start using. And we'll be using them to refer to your plays and the things that you write. The first one is character. Well, that one you know. This characters, people who want things. They have goals and objectives. If you put characters in a play and they don't want anything, they're not characters. Right? Characters want things. Right? They are human beings who perhaps don't want anything. But in a play, they are characters. Even Shakespeare don't write human beings, he writes characters. Right? A character is often smarter than human beings in Shakespeare, at any rate. All right? Because your actor will want to know what the character wants. Dialogue, here I'm perhaps contradicting myself by saying dialogue is a conversation between two or more characters. But we know it as a conversation, except that dialogue in terms of dramatic action is dialogue that moves the action along. Conflict, obstacles that get in the way of character achieving what he or she wants. Oh Lord. All right. The most significant dramatic question. The most significant dramatic question is a simple question that audiences ask themselves consciously or unconsciously when they come to the theater. And the answer is a simple no or yes. Such as, will they discover who killed him? Killed John Brown? Because you have set up a problem that shows that somebody has been killed. The play is probably a whodunit. And it is that question that keeps your audience hooked to your drama. If there's no a significant dramatic question, it's going to be, you'll have problems holding your audience. Of course, if you're writing a certain kind of roots play in which it's riddled with jokes, or you have an actor who is changing the lines every so often and spicing it up, the audience will stay with it and enjoy it as they do stand-up comedy, but they will not be engaged as they ought to in a play unless there's a significant dramatic question that you're asking, which should have a simple answer, no or yes. A scene, a single situation or unit of dialogue in a play. That most people know, I think. Stage directions, messages from the playwright to the actors, technicians and others in the theater, telling them what to do and how to do it. Now, Michael had asked earlier about the director and relationships with the play and the extent to which you put stage directions. Very good playwrights, some of the top playwrights put very little. I mean, Shakespeare would probably just say a street, and he's not telling anybody to move stage right or stage left, or sit down in a chair, or move to a table and take a cigarette, right? If your play is properly written or effectively plotted, the actors and directors will be moved to build in business and movement. So you don't tell the director and the actor what to do. So there are some things that are absolutely necessary, and you put those in. So must watch it with your stage directions. What I realized with young playwrights, they write virtually everything. They're writing it and directing it at the same time, not leaving anything up to a director. I can tell you that plays that have been published after they were produced are generally the script that was used in the first production. And so they're full of stage directions, more than the playwright wrote. In fact, a lot of those stage directions that you would see in a play that was already produced is not by the playwright. What they have done is it comes out of the stage manager's book with all the stage directions in it. But most directors and actors scratch out those stage directions. They ignore them, if they are worth their salt, at any rate. Setup. Opening and establishment of the central problem. Okay, so your play will have you want to break this down for you a little bit more. Your play will have a setup, which is the beginning, when the key elements are set up. The central character, the central idea, the central problem, what the central character wants. That's in the opening of the play. And then there's a middle, climax, and resolution. So the setup is that opening. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Okay, don't bother with this. I don't know how this gets here. Setting. Setting is time and place of a scene. There are a number of people, I noticed they sometimes don't put in the setting. You at least need to state where it's happening. As Garcia Lorca or Shakespeare would state, in a red room, or in a room, in a bedroom, etc. If it's a realistic play, you may go on to say a little bit more. If it's a upper middle class living room, you may go on to describe it a little bit more. And you may want to describe specific items that are critical to the play, such as, let's say, the central character is a writer, and he works at his writing desk. So you may want to indicate that the living room has a writing desk, and so on and so forth. So setting is critical as part of your formatting. The character profile. You need to put a list of your names of your characters, and you could just put the name as well as relationship. In some cases, the relationship is not necessarily, but in a number of cases, it might be, right? So if it's a family, for instance, you might have to indicate who's the daughter, who's the mother, who's the father, and so on, right? So the profile of the characters. Monologue. Some plays have monologue, a long speech one character gives on stage. Dramatic action and explanation of what characters are trying to do. All right, that in fact is what I call a consequential action. A beat, a smaller section of a scene. So if a scene is the smallest, or regarded as the smallest section of a play. In other words, you might have a scene within an act, within an entire play. There's an even smaller breakdown to that called a beat. We may never get to this until we get to reading your plays. A smaller section of a scene divided where a shift in emotion or topic occurs. That's when there's a shift in emotion or a topic, the scene changes. I mean, the beat changes within a scene. Plot. The structure of a play, including exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and so on. Now, there's a basic way to understand the plot. It's a sequence of events that the playwrights use. The sequence of events. How is that different to a story? Anybody want to contribute an answer to this? How is the plot different to story?
I'd like to take a stab at it.
Okay.
Because the way that I explain the difference is that the story is the sequence of events. You get up in the morning, you have breakfast, you go to work, you go to the, and so on. That's the sequence of events. But the plot now, I relate to the other word, plotting. And when I think of plot, I think of plotting, which is putting the actions in the story. That is a sequence of events. In such a way, juxtaposing it so that there is tension and drama, which would not be there if you had simply stated the sequence of events in in the regular flow of time. So if you juxtapose the events in the story in a particular way, there you have plotting. And I call it also plot, though of course sometimes I use the word plot to mean story.
Right.
So that's the difference I see.
Let me just try to explain what Michael just said there, perhaps a little differently. The story is, in a way, the sequence of events in time. In time, there is a story that happened a particular way. The man lived, the man was born, he grew up, he went to college, did a PhD, he started working at Grace, and then he died. Now, in between there's going to be a series of other things that will happen in his life. He got married and so on and so forth. That's the story in time. When you as a playwright take that story and you're now going to write a play about it, the elements that you select from it and how you structure them to happen on stage is the plot. So that the sequence, it is the sequence of events structured by the playwright, constructed by the playwright before for the audience to witness. That one is not happening in regular time. That one is happening in theatrical time. And in some cases, you may have flashbacks. You might you may not see when the guy had his baptism or his confirmation or whatever until somewhere midway in the play that it goes back to that. So you get a flashback. But the playwright structures that somewhere in the middle, right? Or the play could start with the event at the end of the story, right? And take it forward. Let me ask, Japhet, you there?
Yeah, still here.
Right. You had said that you hadn't done anything on playwriting before. So let me ask you if you're understanding the difference. between.
Quite so. I understand the entire story. Entire story is from start to finish, born
Right.
till death. But how the sequence of the life went on throughout the period is now structured by the playwright to depict the different aspect of his life are elements of life.
Right. So, and Michael went on to talk about plotting, which we could come to in a while, because that one's a little bit more technical. Meaning,
Right.
The plotting.
I understand. I'm following closely.
Okay. We passed that already. Okay. Another list. Exposition. The beginning part of
someone is asking you to explain again. Sorry. Someone in the chat is asking you to explain it again.
The plot?
Apart from the difference between the story and the play. Someone just asked.
Like I said, if you think of the story as the sequence or series of events as they happen in time, in regular time, right? In regular time. But the playwright will take those events that have been structured or been borrowed from regular time and structure them in a particular way. All right? They may not happen in the sequence that they came in the story.
All right. So would I be right to say, for example, you'll be seeing a play and somebody say 2 weeks ago, and you flash back to 2 weeks ago to just to look at what had happened in the life of the person 2 weeks ago, and you come back to the main story.
That's one way of
part of the plotting would be what you're trying to explain.
Right. Exactly. That's one way of plotting. Another way of plotting is how the playwright chooses to present that event. Right? It may not necessarily happen the way that it happened in the story. Right? Because of the particular point that the playwright is trying to make about that story. Right? There are things, for instance, that the playwright would not show. He would just give information about it. A character would give information about it, and he wouldn't show it. And that is the first element on this list here, exposition. Part of your setup, for instance, is you're going to give some information about the backstory that you're not going to show. That's exposition, right? A play generally starts with exposition. And there are bits of exposition that happen during the play as well, all right? So the playwright would condense elements perhaps in regular time and construct an event that captures all of that. That would be plotting. So plotting is for instance, I had a case in teaching playwriting where the student was writing about somebody who got AIDS, because this girl got AIDS because she didn't feel that her boyfriend was good in bed, and she had a conversation with her girlfriend, and the girlfriend said she thinks she should try out other men, and the girlfriend turned around to this other man, and she ended up having sex with the man and catching AIDS. And I can't remember the specific point, but the student was writing from a true story according to her. And when I questioned an element in her plot, she said she don't want to change it because that is how the story happened. You understand? That is why a play or movies are based on a particular story rather than an actual story or a reproduction of the story on stage or on the movies. If you notice plays that are about specific things that happen in time, oftentimes that play is based on, is not the actual story entirely. You understand me? I hope that person who was asking the question is a little clearer. Okay. So you have exposition, rising action. After the play is introduced, and it kicks in, the tension kicks in, it rises, the tension rises. I'm going to show you that in a diagram in a while. Rising action is the middle part of a plot consisting of complications and discoveries that create conflict. Climax is the turning point in the plot, is that highest point of the conflict. Two people are in conflict, and it's that high point of it when the story turns. It's about the conflict over a husband and a wife, about the husband's infidelity. And a series of complications happen. And towards the end, something happens. I don't know, the outside woman, something is discovered that the outside woman left in the house when the wife wasn't there or something like that. And the conflict explodes. That could probably be a climax, because after that, the story is going to resolve itself. The woman might decide she's going to move out. And that is called the falling action. Series of events following the climax of a plot. Denouement, final resolution of the conflict in a plot. This diagram here is what I'm talking about. This is how the traditional play is structured. Some people say the well-made play. The exposition, this is the setup. This opening section down here. And then there's a rising section when tension builds. And there's that climax, and the falling action and the resolution. So the setup is down here where you see exposition. Rising action, climax, denouement. That's the traditional structure. No, I say traditional because there are some plays that don't have that structure. I have directed a couple. And in my own preparation, this is something that I deduced for myself. For instance, I directed Waiting for Godot, which is an absurd play. And there is a situation or context happening in that play. Two men waiting for Godot. They don't know quite who he is, but they have this inclination, this impulse to wait for this person who presumably is going to come and bring some kind of salvation, if you will. All right? The sequence of events that happen are not necessarily tied together, so that you don't have this line, this straight line, this linear structure. The linear structure here going up to the climax and coming back down. All right? What you have is an event happens in here, and it goes up, it builds, it gets complicated, builds. Another one happens, another one happens. Notice though, they are still going up in a tension line. They're still building. Waiting for Godot. In a way, I don't know if any of you have come across Dennis Scott's An Echo in the Bone. An Echo in the Bone is about a rite of passage that's taking place in a nine-night. And in a way, the nine-night is this bottom structure here. The rite of passage taking place. This rite of passage is for the central character, the son of the dead man. But the rite of passage is also for the people in the community and the family. Right? So this ritual is taking place. And through memory and spirit, things happen. So here, the first one here, are you seeing my cursor when I move it? Damien, are you seeing my cursor?
Yes, yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So here is the first possession, and it goes up. And it takes you into a story that in literally is unrelated, but historically and metaphorically, it's related to what's going on in this family. But literally it is not, because it throws you into the Middle Passage with the slave trade. And these are people in 20th century who are having this thing happening, the night. And this thing, true spirit, which is something present in a night, and memory, because one thing they do is they reflect on the dead man's life. Through those two things, these things happen. And everyone here, each one of them is one of those moments that transcend until ultimately, here is where the possession ends. The guy is in the roof of the barn in which they're having the night. And then he comes down. And it's the end of the rite of passage. So there's this kind of structure. There's a play called, another that I directed, called The Dumb Waiter by Harold Pinter. Two guys in a room. They seem to be hitmen. They have been given instructions and some clues to determine who they must shoot. That's all. And they're talking about all kinds of things, including cricket and I think football and so on. And that has its own tension. And something would happen here, and that event would spiral. Somebody throws an envelope under the door and it comes in, and that creates tension and a whole story, and so on and so forth. I directed a play with Sistren Theatre Collective called Muffet in a Holloway. In that play, the central character was Muffet, but it had 3 stories, and the stories were not linked to each other, literally linked. Thematically, they were linked. It was all about women in a state of social deprivation and domestic abuse. So there was that thing that tied them together. But it was the first movement in the play was a different story. The second movement in the play was a different story, and so too was the third movement in the play. And I had them play. They were played by 3 different actresses. All right. And as we go into the 21st century, these models are developing. There's a model now called the anthology model. I directed a play not so long ago called Woman Tongue, which was a series of monologues. They were not connected in a story, but they were all to do with women's lives. So there's a thematic connection, this connection at the bottom here that's happening, all right? But they are different people. And then in the end, the last scene that happened, it seemed as though it was a metaphorical representation of all of them, because in the end, these women they have died and they're now spirits in another situation, and it climaxes. These new structures give people like critics and people who have to decide on theater awards headache, because how they're going to use the normal criteria to assess these plays. All right. Okay. Then you have to be concerned about a couple of other things when you're writing your play. Let me say before going into this, that in my view, I don't know what Michael thinks, the play is the most challenging literary form because structure is critical. And structure is something that you have to cultivate, which is why I'm saying this up front, and then we're going to see how it works. I'm going to use some of the fundamentals of structure to critique your work when you write. Structure is critical, right? All these elements. I mean, almost everybody I know could write a poem. A novel, you could write to your heart's content. It might end up being 100 pages or 200 pages or 500 pages. A play has to have this structure, and then it has to fit within a particular time frame, because people leave in the house, they go to the theater, and they don't want to stay forever. So that, for instance, even Shakespeare would have 4 and 5 act plays, and people cut them because it's too long. All right. And that's why you have 1 act plays or 3 act plays or 10-minute plays or half-an-hour plays. So all of that is structural demands that a poem, a Michael, who's a short story writer, might be able to tell me if I'm correct. A novel, although the novel and the short story has some of these very elements, they're not as restrictive. You can write to your heart's content. And that is why understanding some of those things that I've listed before is crucial, because it is the absence of, or the not so effective use of some of those elements that causes a play not to work. Another thing that is helpful to know is that there are certain motivational complexes that drive a play, that motivate characters. If you were to look out on Constant Spring Road and you see a man running down the road and a woman running behind him with a machete, it's going to create quite a stir. People are probably going to run towards it to look for the entertainment, to find out what is happening. And they're probably going to say, "Boy, big drama out on the street." Might be big drama, yes, but it's still not a dramatic play if you, the viewer, can't understand what is motivating the characters. Why is that woman running down the man? You want to know. Until you know that, it's not going to be a satisfying event to witness as a drama. And what are some of the things that provide that motivation? Basic human drives. We all have basic human drives. The drive for response, the drive for recognition, the drive for adventure, the drive for security are some of the basic human drives, right? You could probably place all of your motivations for anything that you do in this category, or anything that you have done in one of these categories. So motivation is a critical thing. Your character, who has a problem, is pursuing an objective by committing a certain action. In the case of the man running, he's running. That's the action, to run, to escape. That's not enough. We want to know why. It might be because of his drive for adventure or for whatever. There are human drives that we all have. And then there are situational drives, the general circumstance, the physical situation, the social interaction. So the social situation, if it's a domestic thing, generally it's circumstance might be it's a domestic thing in a particular place. The physical situation, man get caught in some kind of compromising situation, the wife is running him down, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, while when you go to see a play or you watch a movie, you see that what is happening is people are talking. It's probably the thing that is most obvious. They are talking, you're having dialogue. What in fact they are doing is not having dialogue. It's not just having dialogue. They are creating action. And understanding that is crucial, that what you're writing is action. This is critical for you to get, or else you're going to find yourself again writing people chatting. Is what are they doing? Not only what they are doing physically, like running down the road, or what they are doing by cutting up vegetables in the kitchen, but what they are doing psychologically. What would you say I am doing now? I have a motivation. My motivation is the same as the JC's motivation to help develop Jamaican theater, right? In terms of the previous drives, I guess you could say it's situational, it's social, it's cultural. But what is the action that I'm playing? What would you say is the action I am playing here? Tisha, are you still there? Tisha, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
What is the action that I'm playing? I'm talking, but you have to see through the talk to the action, because that is what you're writing. What is the action that I'm playing?
I'm not sure.
Not sure. Dawn, you want to have a go? Dawn, you with us?
I'm not sure either. I'm not sure what you're looking for.
I think you all know, but it's just you're not accustomed speaking about it that way. Junior, you there? Junior? Junior with us? Malachi?
Yeah, yes, I'm here. So you are like you are the vice that is leading us to this climax of getting what it is to write the play, and then we'd come down. Like you say, you're functioning like a shepherd, right?
Right.
Right. So you have a motive sitting there to get us to this point, to the apex. Something is going to happen there. We're gonna decide if we're gonna continue writing plays or we can manage it, and it's gonna fall after that.
Okay. So, okay, that's a nice way of looking at it. What you've just done is you've used a metaphor. You're liking me to a shepherd. So in a way, I am shepherding to shepherd. I am teaching, I am guiding. Actions are defined by verbs: to guide, to teach, to shepherd. All right? So you have to be able to see that within your dialogue, your characters are creating psychological action.
What were you looking for, sir?
What I'm looking for?
Yeah, what were you looking for? What response were you looking for?
Well, the ones, well, starting with Malachi said to shepherd. I'm the shepherd.
I see.
So the action is to shepherd. Shepherd is the verb. Guide is the verb. Teach is the verb. You understand? You understand?
Yes, yes, maybe it was too obvious, so I thought it was something deeper.
Right, that's why you know it. That's why I say you know it.
Yeah.
But I want you to get attuned to that, because when you're attuned to that, then you are writing the appropriate, putting the appropriate words in the mouth, rather than just making them chat. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
So Dawn, what is the action you just played?
I gave you feedback, questioned, and reinforced.
Find the verb. What you
What's
just
the verb? Well, to question.
to question.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
Yeah.
let's tune up our antennas that way. When you go and look at the next movie, all right, tune it up. You ask what is it, and it's not, you know it, we know it, but tune yourself up to the verb, because that's going to help to determine the physical action that you write for the characters to play, right? So a play is made up of actions. So it's not made up of dialogue, it's made up of actions. The dialogue is like Michael, what you used to call it, was it you that said the dialogue is like the leaves on the tree?
Not sure if I put it as poetically as that.
Yes, right.
But I agree with what you're saying, of course, because the dialogue could be exceedingly banal, but the action that is going on while that banal dialogue is being uttered is absolutely full of tension.
Right.
So I call it in some of my playwriting classes double dialogue. Because
what kind of dialogue? What kind of dialogue?
Double.
Double dialogue.
It's doing two things at one time. While on the surface it is speaking about one thing, at the other level, the subtextual level, something else is going on.
Right.
So that, and I often give this example. Two people could be beating up a third while they're speaking about the weather. And if you are really clever, the words that are uttered, the dialogue that is used, refers both to the weather and to the action of beating up the other person. It takes quite a bit of cleverness to do it, but it can be done.
But you are saying as well that sometimes the action that is going on is being done in tandem with banal
yes, exactly.
related dialogue.
Yes, exactly.
Then just a chat. It has nothing to do with what the character wants.
Yes.
That's another thing to be aware of. The dialogue has to do with what the character wants.
So William,
It's
a quick question. Right. Couldn't we have an entire play with the same building blocks of actions without having the same effect without any dialoguing?
Yes, there are plays without dialogue.
Right, and it has the same effect, same action, but we're not dialoguing.
You're gonna write a scene without dialogue in a little while.
Good.
Okay. You can even have play without character. You know, one man, one theater artist decided he wanted to get rid of actors because they're troublesome. He wanted to just use light and blocks, move blocks around, things around, and color, because essentially he's saying that you don't absolutely need characters, that people can enjoy theater. I mean, he wasn't entirely successful, but it was an idea that is worthy of note.
Perfect. Eugene, accept?
Yes, Malachi.
Yeah, could we also look at it in terms of say for argument's sake, the old Jamaica police force then. Let's put it in that, or the army. Where you had like say regular cops, red scene, and you had blue scenes, auxiliaries. So the main thing in the force, the action would be say the red scene. But the blue scene was just a like an auxiliary thing that helps the process in some way, but is not the main process. Is that a good way to think of it too?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Because what you're trying to do is to do either of two things. Your dialogue is the text, right? And your action is part of the subtext.
Okay.
Right? That subtext is there to clarify what the text is really about. Right? When two actors or actors and directors sit down to work on a scene, they have to analyze that play to find out the subtext. And you will go to that two different productions of that play, and you will see one group interpret that subtext differently from the other, right? Because they find something else. What they have found is a different thematic connection, and as a result, a different action, oftentimes, right? You're going to see some examples in your own writing, right? So a play is made up of blocks of action, and the action is basically characters playing action. And a thing I like to say is character is as character does, not what character says. All right? So while you are writing, if you're a young playwright, you're writing, what's crucial to you is what they're saying, literally what they're saying. That don't make them a character. It's what they do. You just think of renowned characters that you know, or renowned human beings. Let's take Martin Luther King Jr. What is he known for? Yeah, there's that speech, right? I have a dream. But what is he really known for? What would you say, Damian? Damian, you with us?
Yes.
What is Martin Luther King Jr. known for?
His speech, I have a dream.
Well, yes, but he's known within the
his lobbying.
His work, the things that he did, the things that he did.
He got the Nobel Prize for Peace.
Right.
He was a peacemaker. Blessed are the peacemakers.
Right.
They see God.
And what he was doing. Jesus Christ. What is Jesus Christ known for?
Action.
Right. What he did. That is, you see, that is why action is crucial. So your right character is not people who just chatting. What are they doing to solve their problem? Characters built, for instance, on challenge. When you think of people who are known to us as great people, how they become great people? The same way that your characters will become interesting people based on what they do when they face challenge. Jesus was faced with challenge, is how he dealt with it. Martin Luther King, how he dealt with it. Right? Civil rights, racism, how he dealt with it. Jesus is the same thing. Nani, Paul Bogle, Marcus Garvey, what they did. So it's crucial for you to realize. Now, actions, events, and activity. All right. Activity on stage is the things that people do. They smoke, they pick up a cup of coffee, they eat, they lift up a table, they hug, the case, that's activity, and that is part of action, right? So those things are called by some theater people business, stage business, but they're also actions. And psychological actions, like when I was saying, what I'm doing is teaching. I'm to shepherd, to teach, to guide. Those are psychological actions. So all those things fall under action. Some are psychological and some are physical and visual that happen before us. In film, the visual is critical because film is a more visual medium, right? There are some plays that don't have a lot of activity and tend to be boring, but there are some that are well made and they don't have a lot of activity and they're good. If you have a play that don't have no activity, maybe it needs to be on radio rather than on stage. You with me? Because people come essentially to see a play, not to hear a play, to see a play. All right. Dramatic action, we talked about already. Okay. This brings us to our first exercise. This is an example of a scene with action only. And I put this here because the tendency when young writers are writing is to write people talking, and not to write anything physically happening. It is good to consider writing a scene in which you don't write dialogue unless it's absolutely necessary. How can you construct activity in this drama? Because you always come to see you play. So here is an example. Let's have Jeffet. Read it for us now.
Let me see what about. All right. So read what is on the screen, right?
Yes, yes.
It is a dark room. A man and a woman are sleeping. Their alarm clock goes off. The man switched off the alarm. It says 6 a.m. The man takes a gun from beneath the pillow. Look at them. Place it beside the clock. The man continues to goggle, goggling,
to
thinking, to sit, goggle, thinking of the beer that he goggled down the night before, and the short rest he has had. He raised and glanced at the paper on the table. A headline ends, bank robbery.
A headline reads.
Reads, okay. After adjusting the screen, well, yeah, all right.
Yeah, your screen seems to be giving you trouble. All right, let me just finish it up because your screen seems to be giving you trouble. A headline reads, bank robbery sets record. He goes to the closet where he takes out pants and shirt. He begins to put on the shirt and can't button the sleeve because a button is missing. He strides angrily to the bed and wakes the woman. He holds out the buttonless cuff. She shrugs and turns over. The man finishes putting on the shirt as best he can. He puts on his pants, finds his socks and shoes, puts them on and exits. How is that for a scene?
How is it?
How is it for a scene? Does it work?
Yes.
Each of you go read through it again and see what works and what doesn't.
By asking the question, what works, what doesn't work, what exactly should we be looking for?
You're looking to see if this works as a scene for a stage play.
Okay.
Let me give you an idea. It's a dark room. A man and a woman are sleeping. The alarm clock goes off. The man switches off the alarm. It says 6 a.m. No, those first two sentences seem to be fine.
All right.
But it says 6 a.m. might be good for a film, not for stage.
Okay.
Maybe only the people in the front seat of the theater will see that, if at all.
Okay.
Right? So if you're writing activity, you have to be aware of that.
True, as well as the
Right?
possibility could be that we all agree that your alarm usually goes off around that time. But I understand what you're saying, especially if you're going to be specific about the time.
And you gotta watch this whole thing of clocks on stage anyway.
Right. I was gonna say there could be a clock on the wall that is clearly stating 6.
Unless it's one of those digital
This
clocks.
is an alarm clock. It's an
It's an
alarm.
alarm clock. It's an alarm clock, so it's a bedside clock.
Right,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is that in my head, I could see where the alarm clock went up. Yes, it's 6 o'clock. He can see that because 6 o'clock, but we, the audience, can see a big 6 o'clock on the wall, but the light is dim, but we can see it. And we can see that it's 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, but this guy is the playwright, whoever wrote this. You understand?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Let
don't
me
help
ask you
him
this.
by putting an alarm.
We're taking directorial liberties, but you're right. I mean, it's night.
You're looking at the playwright, you're not directing.
Okay.
Right.
So let me ask a question then, Sir Williams. If it was to say, so for example, the script would have changed to say, he switched on the light as part of, after he switched on the light.
That's fine.
So-
That's fine. There are lots of alternatives and options, you know.
Oh, so it would have been good for playwrights because
Assess this, but the one before you.
no, I'm assessing, and I'm saying to you, you said it wouldn't be good for playwright. I'm just saying to you, if it had changed slightly to say he switched the light on, would it be good for playwright?
Yeah, because we will see the light come on, and we know about switching the light.
All right, I understand.
You're right, Sir Will. It's certainly more film-esque because for us to see that it is 6 a.m., as you rightfully pointed out, we would have had to be sitting right in the front, the first 3 rows, and certainly in an elevated way to see the stage like that.
Okay.
And then it says, the man continues to sit groggily, thinking of the beers that he had guzzled down the night before and the short rest he has had. You wouldn't know him drink beer.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Unless you have a slight flashback.
Right.
Or the camera pans to 2 bottles on the ground.
Now, in the JCDC competition, I see this all the while, and in young students. The man takes a gun from beneath his pillow, looks at it, then places it beside the clock. Then the man continues to sit groggily, thinking of the beers, How the
Yeah.
hell is the audience gonna know what he's thinking?
Right.
But I see that in the JCDC festival all the time. And that he guzzled it down night before and the short rest he has had.
Yes.
Okay.
What comes next also sets it for film. A headline reads, he rises and glances at the paper on the table. Now, all of this is happening in the dark. He might have really good X-ray vision.
Mm. Plus, even looking at the paper on the table might not be something that the audience will be able to discern or to notice. So you have a lot of stuff that only you, the playwright, know that, and maybe the actor.
Right.
Right.
So the audience wouldn't.
Yes, the headline reads bank robbery sets record. Who the hell would know that?
Nobody.
But
No,
these things are in plays and should not be. He goes to the closet where he takes out pants and shirt. He begins to put on the shirt and can't button the sleeve, can't button the sleeve because a button is missing. That one is also the thing, the button. The audience is supposed to see why you can't put it on because a button is missing. Right? So think stage, think what that audience can see.
Right.
He strides angrily to the bed and wakes the woman. She holds out the buttonless cuff. He holds out the buttonless cuff. She shrugs and turns over. The man finishes putting on the shirt as best he can. He puts on his pants, finds his socks and shoes, put them on, and exits. All right. So much of this can be edited, right?
Right.
Much of this can be edited, but I tell you, I see it all the while. Questions you should ask yourself when you write this or you see it written by other people. One. Oh, damn, we skipped one. Damien, how will I go back?
Did it again, sir? Will?
Left arrow, the left arrow.
Got it. Now look at this one now. Let's focus on the building. This is a good one to focus on what we call, or what I refer to as the building blocks of action. Bearing in mind that a playwright is normally said to have a story to tell. More appropriately, a playwright should have a story to show. If you have something to tell, write a novel. Right? It's a story to show. So if you're gonna write for the stage, you're writing to show. So watch all that dialogue that has no psychological action, no physical action or activity. Let's see how those manifest in this one. It's dark. A man lurks in the bushes beside a house. He looks around, then slides carefully to a window. He looks around again, then tries to lift the window. It doesn't move. He takes a small tool from his pocket and scores a square on the window pane. He hits it with a hand glove, and a section of the window falls out. He reaches his arm inside the window. A light comes on inside the room. The man quickly withdraws his arm, turns and runs from the house. What you have here is an entire scene without a single stroke of dialogue. Who is this man?
A
A
thief.
burglar. A burglar.
Burglar, a thief. Give me some qualifications of this man. Not academic qualifications. What kind of thief is he?
He's an amateur.
Petty thief.
You find that he's an amateur?
Well, he's wearing a glove, so he has some expertise, obviously. Yeah, he knows exactly where.
Come with tools. He come with tools.
the weak point is to enter the house. He came prepared with tools. He has his gloves, so he wouldn't leave any fingerprints on there. So he has.
He's an experienced, skilled man.
A professional thief, right?
Yes, he's a professional thief. Right? So you have character. No, nothing is said. Things done.
Right.
The character doing things clearly tells you about character, who he is,
Right.
in a short space of time. What is it? What is this play about? What is this scene about? How would you describe? What is it about?
An attempt break-in.
An attempted break-in. An attempted burglary or break-in, right? It's useful if you can title your scene. That's something that directors do a lot, but it's useful for playwrights. If you can title a scene, then you know what to write. You're not writing useless dialogue. You understand what I'm saying? It's about an attempted break-in. And if you go further, an attempted break-in by a seasoned burglar, then you know what you're writing. That even if you put dialogue, the dialogue has to be about that. Right? That's what the scene is about. So you notice the difference between the two? Suzette still with us? Patricia?
Yes,
Reed? Suzette, you're still here? You notice the difference between the two examples?
Yes, I do.
Right. Malachi, you notice the difference?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So this is good playwriting. You've seen
it's more action oriented. It's plain. It's clearer to see, and in the audience you'd actually be able to visualize the action as it's happening, feel the drama, the tension.
Right. And in this scene, you have the entire structure of a play. A scene normally has the same also has a similar structure as a play. We have the setup, rising action, climax, resolution.
One thing I noticed that whatever happened, it was possible to do it in the dark. It's not like the first one where, some of it is just not. It's dark, and then everything that was done, it's possible to do it in the dark.
And notice, like I said, the structure that I gave you with the rising action and the setup, the climax. Let's see if you can identify them. The setup is where you're setting up the problem and you're setting up the character and the intention. You're setting up the central character, his intention, his problem, right? So where is the setup? Up to where is the setup?
Up to, well, the window is there, he has to break it, right? So he has a problem here. He reaches in, right? And the action, it's a lot of tension here. You don't know if somebody's gonna shoot off there and chop off the hand and what have you, right? The light comes on, so it changes. He has to get his hand out of there and he has to get the hell out of there, right?
But all of that is in the middle, is in the rising action or the middle of your play.
Right.
Another way to look at it is that the setup is your beginning. The rising action is your middle. And your end is your resolution. The majority of your play, the most important part of your play is the middle or that rising action. Right? You have beginning, middle, end. The middle is the most important part of your play. I've seen a lot of young writers and a lot of the writers in the JCDC, they have a beginning and they have an end. They have no middle. And the play is about the middle. Right? Let's look at the setup. Let's see if you can identify the setup and the middle here. Now, what we're setting up the character of this man. We're setting up what he wants. All right? That you're setting up in the beginning. It's dark.
All right.
All
It's
right?
dark.
Part
Right.
of the system. A man lurks in the bushes beside the house. Lurks. He's lurking. He's suspicious. He's probably a thief. Right? He looks around. So character is being set up there. And intention. Right? Then slides carefully to the window. That's beginning now to get to the middle, the rising action. You see it?
That's right.
Tension now beginning to come. Now, the point at which it begins which triggers that middle and that rising action is what you call the inciting action, or the point of attack. That point, that moment when it's triggered, what is it that triggers that rising action? Which is the phrase or sentence? Think about you sitting in the theater watching.
He looks around again, then try to lift the window.
I would suggest you've gone too far.
Okay.
He slides carefully to a window.
Right.
Right? You start getting butterflies in your stomach at that point when you watch it, while you're watching it. You understand what I'm saying? That's the point of attack. That's the inciting action. That's the point at which the tension is going to begin to rise. He looks around again, then tries to lift the window. It doesn't move. What's that? Something we mentioned before. What is that? Crisis. He come to break in this house, but he can't get the window open. Crisis. His objective is in crisis. You understand me?
Right.
Another way of speaking about it is a complication. Your middle has a series of complications. In life, as I'm sure you all know this, the things that you manage to achieve that are really delightful and sweet and things that you treasure are the things where you had to overcome challenge. If you had no challenge just moving through life, it's not as exciting as if you overcame challenge. Things came into your way, complications, obstacles, moments of crisis. All right? So remember that middle, which is during the rising action, is where a series of complications occur. It's where crises occur. It's where challenges occur to the objective. And sometimes the character has to change tactic. Right? A student wrote a play for me, for instance, where his entire middle had conversation happening, absolutely no complication. So a whole scene with two people talking, and there's no progression, there's no dramatic action, there's no complication, there's no crisis, no challenge, and boom, next thing you have climax. So you don't have a middle, you don't have a play. Right? Tries to lift the window, it doesn't move. Now he's gonna move again. So can you see the tension line going up?
Right.
That rising tension, that rising action. You see the tension line going up.
Right.
Right. Then he takes a small tool from his pocket and scores a square on the window pane. Boom. It gone up further. The question, what is the dramatic question? Whether you will manage to break into this house.
Right.
Right? That is the thing that is hooking the audience. If you don't have a dramatic question happening there, your play has a hole. So he makes a square on the window pane, hits it with a gloved hand, and a section of the window falls out. What is that? What is that event? What is that?
I'm coming to
Malachi,
fix the
what
window in
was
the
that?
night.
Eh?
I'm come to fix the window in the night.
I would say, is that like climax now? Where
That is another moment of crisis.
yeah, he's right up there now.
Another moment of crisis, another complication.
Right.
What I'm saying to you guys is that what you're seeing in this little thing here is what happens in an entire play. Right? And in a scene. That is what you're writing. Right? So you're writing beginning, middle, end. The beginning, you're giving information and you're setting up character, objective, central idea or theme. Then comes your point of attack or your inciting action. And boom, the tension line gone upward. And you got to keep building upward to the climax. So you're going to have a series of complications or crises. Or you will see references in some books about plot points. These are plot points. These are the plot points, meaning points that the playwright plots, which is part of the reason why the playwright has to plot from the story. You can't put on the play as it happened in time in the story, because you are right. You're structuring the play. The story did not necessarily have structure like that. Sometimes it has it, but sometimes it doesn't. Right? So he hits it with a gloved hand and a section of the window falls out. He reaches his arm inside the window. A light comes on inside the room. What is this? A light comes on inside the room. What is that?
Conflict again.
Right? Another crisis point.
Not a crisis, not a conflict.
Right? And that is the climax. You got it? Because after this, you're going to get the resolution. That is the highest point in it. The man who draws his arm, turns and runs away from the house.
That's the conclusion.
That is why the story is about a failed robbery. You understand? Once that failure comes into play, the play done. It's resolution. That's how it resolves itself.
Good.
Be clear, Jeffet?
Clear like mud. Yes, clear, crystal.
Suzette, clear?
Very clear.
All right. Teacher not with us. Conliffe, clear? Conliffe?
Yeah, very clear. I can't use my mic a lot. I have an unstable connection, but I'm following closely and I'm very clear. No problem.
Okay. So what this piece of, and what this is a scene that has no words. Has no words. And the conflict is between who and who?
The burglar and the target.
The burglar and the target, I guess you could say the target, who is the whoever turned on the light, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. So here are some questions to ask yourself to evaluate it, and to evaluate your scene when you have written it, or somebody else's scene. That when people write their 10-minute play and they bring it in, some of the questions you will be asking are of the piece. Which of the two examples are acceptable for playwriting? So we're saying it's the second one that we read, right? Agreed?
Right.
Agreed.
Can you picture the action and the activity? You can picture it? Yes, we can in the second one. In the case of the first one, some of it we cannot picture.
Right.
This man about beers that he drank last night or earlier and so on. We can't. Can the key activity be seen? Yes, the key actions are being seen. Right?
Clear.
What questions are raised? It's unclear with the first one what the questions. It doesn't necessarily raise any question.
No.
But the second thing raise a question. Number one, you want to know what are some of the questions that are raised from that second one?
Can I say that I did get a question in the first one?
Tell me.
When he disturbed the woman to look at the button, I got this. I wonder if he asked her before to mend the shirt, to put the button on the shirt. So I had that question. Was she asked before to mend the shirt?
Okay.
And then they're having some dispute about the fact that he keeps asking for these things to be repaired, and she's not doing that, not mending them.
Right. But there's no big significant question. Was the significant question raised in this second one?
Maybe who turned on the lights? Outside of that, I can't see any.
That's interesting, yeah. Who turned on the lights? Yeah. And questions that are raised, the major question that is raised is, of course, that chief significant dramatic question. Will he break into the house?
Will he get in?
Will he get in?
I was wondering if he thought no one was there and was surprised by the light coming on.
Right. Yeah, he probably thought nobody. Yeah, is anybody there? Right.
The light coming on might just surprise him. It was an element of surprise, something he never expected. Maybe he expected the occupants to be away. Right. And then the light coming off would just, he wasn't prepared for maybe an attack or to go inside and attack who is there. So that might have just, throw him off.
Okay, right. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, well, and then you could get him in more trouble too. Let the victim conspicuously wait inside and turn on the light as he enters.
Right.
What I'm saying is that the questions are more of, in my view, of a suspense type questions than asking for clarity in the word plot. So.
Right. So the suspense is constructed is raised by we have some new people that have been admitted. I hope they're following us. Are there places where the C needs words in the last one? Would you put any words there?
No.
Oh, that.
Oh, that.
Hey, Jesus Christ.
Notice that you need to ask yourself, would it work better if there were no words?
Perfectly. Exactly.
So you don't have to write words if you don't need it.
Good.
Right?
Wasting words, huh, Sir Williams?
Yes. So I'm trying to reorganize your head. If you have been influenced primarily by people talking as what a play is about, that is the other way around. All right. And we're gonna look at a scene in a play. And next Saturday, we're gonna see how the playwright cleverly use activity and mix it with dialogue. And where if you were to remove the activity, you wouldn't get the meaning of the scene. It's cleverly interwoven. And that's critical in playwriting. Does the scene point to a mood which suggests the genre and style? Is it drama, comedy? What kind of mood do you get?
Drama.
It's a drama. Everybody else agree?
Drama.
Yeah,
Why
drama.
is that? Why is that?
Throughout the scene, I I don't see anything to laugh about, anything comical about the scene in the second. It was more like you're expecting action, with the window and, drama. Something is going to go, whether he breaks in or not. So it's not comedy, that's drama.
Right.
I'm expecting that.
Right.
If it were going to be comedic, it would have to have had some other scenes prior to it, like a bellow and that trying to do this new thing, this stealing thing, and then when him come now, it mess up because he never checked to see if people will be home, and then that would make it comedic. But he would have had to have some prior scenes. But this scene within itself was dramatic, but it could have been twisted to be comedic if we had some prior.
I see. I've seen.
Our suspense.
Eugene, did you see that Pat Compa play Rufus, where like this person is being trained to rob people, and the trainer would actually sit and critique the real robbery. It was kind of comedy.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, it was a funny play.
Mm.
When I say it though,
action drama.
I see it when it was read. I saw it more like physical comedy along the lines of Mr. Bean.
The play that Malachi talking about?
No, the window.
Oh.
It.
I see what you mean.
Another thing that if let's say you're doing that sort of physical thing, to drive home the whole comedic thing, could do with the Pink Panther theme song.
Yeah.
So you get the comedic thing in there.
Right. That makes sense. You would have to yeah. Well, those are questions you have to ask yourself, and then how do you make it consistent? Because there are some of our local playwrights. There's one particular guy, to me, he writes mostly serious stuff, but because he wants to give the audience a belly laugh, when it's directed, it's twisted for comedy, and that often spoils it.
But let me ask you with the same plot that we're speaking about, would sound be able to differentiate the different category that you would want it in? For example, you'd want it in comedy, you'd want it in drama, you want it in some action comedy, some suspense in terms of adding sound.
Yeah, song as in music?
Yes, and the song, and not music, not necessarily music and sound.
Yeah.
Various
But
sounds, various type of music.
You don't want to use sound to turn it into what it is not.
Right.
You use the song to emphasize what is there.
Okay.
You with me?
Right.
Okay. Last question. What kinds of characters are suggested through the action? Damian?
Yes, sir.
I wanted to see back my slides on the left side. How do that?
There's a genius on here called Tag Off.
Escape. Press escape. Top left hand button on your screen. ESC. Press it.
On your keyboard.
On your keyboard, you see ESC there?
Yeah, but nothing to happen.
Oh, it should have taken you out. It should take you out of the slideshow mode and take you back into where you were before.
Or you could double click. Shouldn't you be able to double click and that helps as well?
Double click what?
The slide.
Okay.
Hold on. Escape now.
Escape should have taken it out.
All right, good.
There we go.
Did you press escape, sir?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
It wasn't selected.
Yeah?
We're all on the same page.
Okay, I get you. Yeah.
Are you seeing me?
We're still seeing you.
Side. Yes.
Okay, good. All right, let's move on. where do ideas come from? Some of you have written, so tell me where your ideas come from. Dawn?
Okay, ours was a public message that we needed to actually, because it's radio we're using, right? So we wanted persons to be more aware of the different types of abuses. That is one of them, the two drama series, but one of them was the different types of abuses that are out there. Some people don't know they're being abused, so they don't go for help. And so that kind of thing. But so that was one of the inspirations that that persons need to know that we can be a better society, we can have less crime and so forth if they're aware that they're being abused and do something about the situation, whether they come out of the toxic environment or to report or that kind of thing. So that was one of the inspirations.
So social needs.
Yes.
Yeah. Malachi, where do your ideas come from?
It comes from a variety of things. Fragments, and as I say, I write in different genres. I've had a very colorful life. A cop in Jamaica at 18 years old, youngest cop in the place, saw all kind of stuff. Migration, last of home, all kind of stuff. So I have a whole bunch of different themes that run through my head.
Yeah. Anybody else has written? Damian?
Personal experiences.
Okay. I have a list here that you may find useful. Observation. It's useful to have a scrapbook. You're going about your daily life. You're going to some office somewhere, there are magazines and magazine, you might see an interesting photograph or picture. If you can manage to thief it. You're looking for incongruent things that there's a certain uniqueness about it that tells a story, that raises questions.
Eugene, it's like I went into somewhere in Miami 2 weeks ago, and I saw this person, and I swear this person has to be a mermaid on land, right?
What?
The person has to be a mermaid. You know a mermaid? Like you see that the fairy tale. This person was thin, had a head of hair that stretched all the way down to the floor. Right? Had tattoos and just about every inch of her body, including her breasts that were clearly visible because of the way she was dressed. It's sucking, it's just incredible. I started writing a poem about it. So stuff like that, I consider this girl being a mermaid.
Yeah, so it's an extraordinary looking person.
Indeed.
Yeah. So observations, photographs, pictures, etc. Find something incongruent in the picture. Look for questions in the picture. Scrapbooks is a good thing, or if you get one of them shoebox, you put, because you might even come up with objects. Experience, a lot of you mentioned experiences, events, stories, interesting, extraordinary persons. It's of your own imagination, dreams, there's one guy who says that plays are about extraordinary people or ordinary people in extraordinary situations. You're not bringing people to the theater to see the situations that are just as boring as their lives. And extraordinary don't mean, a major dramatic quality about them necessarily. Moon on the Rainbow Shawl starts with a little girl who in Common Entrance, or the equivalent of Common Entrance, And the parents can't afford to buy books and all of them kind of thing to send her to the school. So she has a problem. The parents have a problem. But the problem is made even greater because when the way she talks to Ephraim in the play, in that very first scene, she is a very talented little girl, very smart little girl. That makes the problem even greater. There's something extraordinary about her. The way the playwright has her behave and speak, you know. So ordinary person in an extraordinary situation, or extraordinary person in an ordinary situation. Trying to remember this guy's name now, and I can't remember his name. Igmar Bergman. When asked where do these ideas come from, he said extraordinary situations. For instance, he thinks, sometimes he thinks up extraordinary situations. Just consider the image of a bride on a beach with a suitcase. Just imagine that picture and the questions that raise. A whole heap of drama could come out of that, a whole heap of plays, a whole heap of possibilities, a whole heap of questions. How she come to be there? Where is she going?
Could be the mermaid that Malachi saw.
Maybe yes, Malachi's mermaid, yes. What is she looking for? What was the previous event? What's in the suitcase? Is she really a bride? All right. What if I were to give you that image and say, write me a story or write me a 10-minute play? You see how much could come out of that? It would not be the same thing as if I show you a picture with a dog sleeping in front of a door, or a little boy eating a mango. I'm thinking of Damien's WhatsApp. A collection of stories. As I say, you need to have a story to tell. So a collection of stories. Start collecting stories if you're really interested in writing plays. Places to begin. An idea, yes, but what is it and concerning whom? So you got to go beyond the idea. So you have an idea, ask yourself these questions. An image, example, I just give you that image of the woman at the beach. An interesting character, yes, but not enough to start. What does she do? And in what situation? What obstacles? All those questions. So take that Malachi, take that same lady with all the tattoos and so on. She's an interesting character. Well, ask yourself, what does she do? And in what situation and what kind of obstacles? That's how you're going to now develop from that story, from that image. Place, yes, but not enough. What are the events? You want to set your play in a living room, but what are the events? You want to set your play in a restaurant, but what are the events? Plot, yes, you need a plot, but first things first. Before the plot, you probably need character, or you need a story. Research, but about what? So the what's crucial. The playwright is someone with a story to show. The story is the thing. That story does give writers headache, as Michael would tell you.
Or Will, there's someone whose hand is up in the chat.
Hand up, hand up, hand up. Okay, go ahead.
I have two questions. Not sure where to place the questions, so I'm just placing it now. One of them is, you did mention a 10-minute play. And I wanted to know if, and I remember that you said don't direct, don't be telling people what to do, how to act and so forth. But say, is 10 minutes acting time, meaning like if I, in my mind, the person has to walk across the stage, that's going to take 2 minutes. So I include that in my 10 minutes. Or do I ignore that and just keep going as to what 10 minutes of some dialogue, some action, yeah. I just want to know what is 10 minutes.
Think of it as 10 minutes reading time. And if you have activity like the ones we read, read them too.
Also, sir, if I may jump in, usually 8.5 per page.
Say it again, say it again.
10 minutes would be about 1.5 minutes per page in terms of writing. I don't know if that helps.
Michael, how many pages?
That's 5 pages. 5, 6 maximum.
Yeah,
Is Michael here?
5 to 6 pages.
Yes, I tell my students for that first 10 minutes play, 8 pages minimum.
Yeah.
And that would include the, like I described, who the characters are.
No. From when
just
the
go
play
straight into the play.
Yeah, just when the play, from the play begins.
Okay. And then again, the second question was, do you have to state who the characters are and what their backgrounds are before you start the play? Or it will come out in the play?
Before you start the play.
Yeah.
And it should come out in the play as well.
Okay, so what would you want from us if we're doing homework for you? Do you want us to say who the characters are and tell you the personality of the characters and then give you your 10-minute?
We can deal with that.
Okay, it's swimming around in my head, so that's why I wanted to get it out.
Yeah. Don't worry about the duration yet.
Okay. Then.
Think of it this way: that as Michael said, 6 to 8 pages, and think that the complications in the middle is probably no more than 1 or 2.
Okay, thank you.
Right? Yeah.
And number of characters, Eugene.
Sorry?
Number of characters.
And 2 characters. 2 characters in direct conflict. 2 characters in direct conflict. What that means, we're going to come to deal with that later. What that means is the 2 objectives are in conflict. All right?
Sir William, that sounds like you're giving us our homework already.
Right. And so I don't want to go there yet.
Okay.
Because before that, I want you to write a synopsis.
Oh, Eugene, one thing. If you have not read a 10-minute play before, folks, simply go online, Google 10-minute plays, and you will get all you want, and you will see the structure and the format.
Okay, everybody
got that. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, 10-minute plays. There are a whole lot of them online.
Places to begin your play. You must have these fundamentals which expresses the story, idea, synopsis, a definite subject, an action, a character. Some more ideas about places to begin. An idea, yes, but we did that already. All right. Synopses. Now,
Eugene, I really am feeling it for the beginning playwrights, not so much for Malachi, etc., but for the beginning playwrights. A 2-hander 10-minute play is much more difficult than a 3-hander, because, as you know, two characters can be in conflict, and then the third person comes in and helps to solve it. But 2 characters in conflict rising action, etc., and then solving it all by themselves. That's really tricky. So if you gave them 3 or 4 characters, it would be easier for them.
But if I may, I think Sir William was suggesting that we don't look on the play yet, but rather the synopsis.
Yeah, let me think about that. And I would say don't make it more than 3 people.
Because the writing of the play is going to come after this third.
Don't make it more than 3 people.
Yes, three is easier than 2 usually. If any of them can't get hold of Trevor Rowe's 2 can play, they will see an example of a 2-hander in a full-length play, but it's really tricky.
Yeah, but I really want you to try to tackle one with direct conflict, meaning the 2 characters are in direct conflict with each other. And then we're going to get to modulated conflict. We're going to talk about it. We won't get to it in these workshops. Because there's 2 different types of conflict there. And modulated conflict is several patterns. Just by adding 1 more character, you get several patterns. So I want you to basically start with just the fundamentals of direct conflict. Synopsis. All right, so you need a story. So I want you to start thinking about a story. Either you go to those suggestions for places to get your story, to get your idea and build a story. Go to photographs, look through the newspaper, and try and write a synopsis of the story. See if you could write the long version first before you do the synopsis. So you might want to write 4 or 5 pages and then summarize it over several bouts of writing until you can get it down to as short as possible, a paragraph. And Google synopses of plays. You will find, I got some examples here. I would add things like Raisin in the Sun for realistic plays. Just Google, you can see a lot of, some of the synopses that you will find will not be particularly useful because they are synopses written by critics in a critique. And their objective is kind of different. The features of your synopsis. It should be told from the point of view of the protagonist. Now, whose story is it that it's being told? Whose story is it? Your play has to have a central character, the character to whom the play belongs, often called the protagonist. There are some plays in the 20th century, as dramatic literature become a little bit more complex, that have not just a protagonist, but a deuteragonist and an antagonist. There are some plays where the protagonist, the villain is referred to as the protagonist. But I want you to think of it as the protagonist as the leading character, the character who the play is about. Some plays have a protagonist and an antagonist. Some plays don't have an antagonist. You have antagonistic forces. I mean, a play like Moon and Rainbow Show, which we will look at next week, doesn't have an antagonist as such, but the antagonistic forces. So the leading character is the character who the play is about. How do you know who's the leading character? I would suggest the following. Is the character whose actions cause the plot to progress the most, or the character who goes through the most change. The next movie you look at, if you look at a movie tonight, check it to see what's a movie that most people have seen in recent days. Raisin in the Sun is not recent, but who is it? But I think most of you might have seen Raisin in the Sun. If you didn't see it with Sidney Poitier, who just died, you probably saw it with the other guy. Whose play is it? Who's the leading character in that play? Malachi, did you see Raisin in the Sun?
Okay, what about the How Did They Come?
How Did They Come? I don't even remember that.
No, I think he's probably talking about the most recent version, I think, on Netflix.
It's on Netflix?
No, there's where's the How Did They Fall? Sorry. They did a
that's How Did They
modern
Fall.
day version of that.
Yeah. Michael, was a recent movie what was a realistic play? All of you guys saw Dirty Diana? Nobody saw it. Old Story Time? Nobody saw it?
Eugene, tell them a Jamaican play that's available on YouTube now.
I don't know. Which one? The Dirty Diana, I think, is on YouTube. I think so.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So come.
A number of Jamaican plays and sitcoms.
Yeah.
Jamaican are available on YouTube, and they could do one of the shots if you want. If you're just giving them exercise and writing a synopsis.
Yeah. So look at, everybody has Netflix? Have people left?
Eugene, you have to pay for Netflix, but YouTube is free.
Yeah. I'm trying to, what would be a play that's on YouTube, Michael?
Well, as I said, there are a number of sitcoms on YouTube, Jamaican sitcoms starring Oliver Samuels. I recently gave one playwriting class of mine the task of doing a synopsis of one of those.
Mm.
There are a lot of them. But I do have Netflix because you have to pay for it, and I get my free movies on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do one of the Oliver sitcoms for next class.
Okay, I can give you a whole list of them that are on YouTube. Oliver Lodge. Oh Lord. Class of 73. Come on, Law.
Yeah, but just want one of them, not the whole series.
Oliver and Pinocchio.
Oliver and Pinocchio is one of them?
Yes, Class of 73. I don't know. Front Room.
Front Room. Look at Front Room for next week. And see if you can figure out who is the central character and why. And use some of the criteria I gave you. The character who...
That's Aston Cook. Front Room, Aston Cook.
Okay. Let's go with that one.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's on YouTube.
Yeah.
And that's a complete play.
Yeah, well, I would hope so.
Well,
there was one that I watched not too long ago. The Question with Charles Hyatt and Fabian Thomas. apparently it's an older movie that was done by GIS. It was very good. Where this kid returns from I think he was in England. He's studying in England and he travels back to Jamaica to somewhat rediscover his roots. Very interesting. You know, the question, and he gets somewhat enlightened. So it, you know, you see that. Yeah, very, very interesting. Well,
Okay. Damian. Damian. Damian.
Yes, I'm here, Sir Will.
Would you be collecting emails?
I believe we have captured some for those who would have completed the online registration.
All right, make sure. Well, let me give you 5 minutes. What we have to deal with that.
Secondly, Sir Will, I've put in the chat the YouTube link to Front Room.
Yeah. Okay. Just in case, I also want to communicate with people between now and next week Saturday.
Okay.
All right. All right. So it should be told, the synopsis should be told from the point of view of the protagonist. It should capture the overarching situation, context of the play. It should reflect the journey of the protagonist. It should have an ironic twist. The ironic twist basically means it should have that high point, the climax, and the resolution. It should capture the key plot points, which are the key points of complication or crisis, just the key ones. It should capture the play as a single action, meaning beginning, middle, and end. It should have, you know, think of it as you would think of the whole play as having a beginning, middle, and end. Those are features of the synopsis.
Is that 1 page or 2, Eugene?
Sorry?
Is that 1 page or 2?
1 page or
the synopsis?
What I want them to try to write the longhand one, meaning the story, 4 to 5 pages, and then condense it to 1 or 2 paragraphs.
Oh, right. Yes, I heard it. Yes, you said that.
Right? And guys, you got to do the work, or else from now on, what you do is what will determine the learning, because you're going to be using your material to teach.
Eugene, just to be clear, you want to see both versions, both the long version and the condensed version.
I prefer not to see the long version, but write both of them. And what I do sometimes is if people are struggling with the synopsis, you know, we'll go look at the have a look at the long version, but we don't have time to look at the long version.
Secondly, Sir Will, you said you would like to communicate with them. Yes, I will try to get their emails, but what is your email so I can put it in the chat?
EUGENEF.
EUGENEF.
WILL.
WILL.
At gmail.com.
At gmail.com. Thank you.
Okay, just a little bit more on structure and beginning, middle, and end. Beginning setup. Through exposition, central problem, central character, central ideas are introduced. Point of attack, the event at which the plot is swung into a trajectory towards the climax. All right, that's the point of attack or inciting action. The middle, this is the body and major segment of the play in which the complications, crisis, and key points of change occur. Climax, this is the ultimate point where the central opposing forces clash, and the resolution or falling action where the overall thing is resolved. Just finally, a couple of other points. The importance of good character. Good character is the heart and soul and nervous system of your play. Without character, you have no action. Without action, you have no conflict. Without conflict, you have no story. Without story, you have no play. So good character is at the heart of what you're going to do. Some of this we talked about. Action is character. Character is as character does, not what character says. A good character is made up of dramatic need, meaning they have an objective, point of view, change, attitude that embodies willpower. Your central character has to have willpower. That's one point of view of one playwright. I think it was Garcia Lorca. Or else, if you have a human being who is faced with obstacles but lacking in willpower, he wouldn't make a good central character. You have to have willpower. Those of you who might know the play Antigone is a good example.
There's a question, Sir Will. The synopsis that you're asking for, should it be typed or written?
Type, because we're going to actually read them. You're going to share your screen and we're going to go through and critique it. So for the synopsis, you're really doing in preparation a couple of things. One is you're Googling some examples. Two is you're trying to do to look for the central character in the local play on YouTube. And three is you're writing your synopsis for your story. And a story doesn't come easily. I tell you, I know situations where a playwright been walking around with a play for years because his story is unfinished. And one day he finds the story and he finished the play in that day. Some people don't start with story. You can't afford not to start with story because you have a deadline.
So, Eugene, just to be clear, there are two synopses that we are to do. One of Front Room and one of our play, our 10-minute play.
Right.
Okay.
And I just brought this one back here. Features of a synopsis. Brought this back to remind you. Brought this back to remind you. You don't have to bring in the scene for next class, next session. But you're bringing in the 10-minute synopsis. So we're gonna read the synopses in the next session and a scene from a play. To look at how the elements that we just spoke about today, how they operate in the scene from a play. And then you come on the final day with your scene. And bear in mind that unless you write, unless you bring in stuff from wherever you are at next Saturday, unless you do that, then there's nothing to advance the learning. I tried to just discuss some of the elements very quickly today in this one session. And then to have you do a synopsis for the next session and then do a play for the final one. So you see how the elements work. And then you can be on your own to develop it. When the workshop is done, we'll only be able to talk about possible developments of your play. Any questions?
A question for Damien. If the 10-minute plays that we write are absolutely brilliant, would they be able to be entered in the JCDC literary competition?
That's an excellent question. And I will say no.
Oh dear.
No, because Eugene is going to be the one that will return as adjudicator.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah, but what is the problem there?
You must never know whose work you're marking.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
All right, let's I'll take this off now. Absolutely. All right, let's go down the line. Dawn?
Yes,
Dawn,
sir.
you clear so far?
I am clear.
Okay.
Yes, excited.
You're beginning to see playwriting in freshly?
Yes.
All
yes. But do something and hope that it works.
Yeah. I hope you're not daunted. I try not to give too much work to do, because I know people time.
Yeah.
Right.
Time is that is the challenge. The time.
Yeah. Jeffet?
Yes, sir.
Any questions from you?
I'm good. I'm good. It is very interesting. It is exciting in terms of, how I viewed. Pretty much I view it in the same way. It's just that it is more structured, so you can follow a step-by-step process. But I think I'm right there with you.
You took notes?
Well, all of what I'm doing is notes. we can't learn without taking notes. So all the chattings and the notes that are the formal notes, and look at chit chat here or there.
You wrote some stuff that you can go back.
Yeah, we have material. Okay. I have most of the material right now, whether it be formal or you just.
Don, you did the same. Don, you did the same.
What is the question?
You take notes so that you can refer back to.
Yes. I have quite a bit there.
Oh, Audrey, sorry, I didn't call upon you during the session at all.
I came in. I came in with wanting to learn how to do playwriting, but I also came with a notion that it was hard. And listening to you, you have enforced it that it is for me that it is hard. It is hard, and it might something that I might just pass on.
No, man, you can't pass on it.
It's difficult. Yeah, I just think.
So certainly you can come up with a story.
I think I'll try it. I actually took screenshots of all your slides, so I can go back and read it.
Okay. Well, you don't have to write the play at one go. The first thing you come with is a story, right?
Yeah.
Come with a story.
I'll try.
Right, and I'm sure you can tell a story.
Yeah, I'll try.
Right.
Eugene, just another bit of information. If you guys Google how to write a 10-minute play, you'll get some notes from Google.
Yeah, Google almost have everything you need, you know, when you're stuck. Almost everything you need when you're stuck.
Yes, that's true.
Tracy Ann, you came late. Did you manage to get anything? Tracy Ann?
Hi, Sir Williams. I wasn't late. I was here. I've been here from the beginning, but I was named as IC the Youths. And for some reason or the other, whenever I'm in a session and I have my name as IC the Youths, I was never called on. But I have taken notes. That's fine. I've taken about 5 to 6 pages of notes. So, and I'm quite clear. So I appreciate this session very much because I'm interested in this area. So I really appreciate all the information that you have shared. So I'll take this on as a challenge in doing the synopsis and, you know.
Promising us something next week.
Yes, totally. I'll try, totally.
Okay, okay. I remember, you know, it might seem daunting at the beginning, but when we start, when we read your stuff and critique it, right? You will, as a critic, you will get sharper. You will see, you will see that there's sometimes ideas in your what you have written that you probably didn't even know, right?
Right.
So, and basically the whole group is going to be critiquing and offering their point of view on what you write.
All right, thank you.
That's what everybody. Make sure you do this the short thing, which is a synopsis, because we may not have time to read the long story. But it's good to start from the long one, because if you have the long one, then you have something to then condense.
Right.
Right? If you start somewhere, you get stuck. Right? And once you get a sense of beginning, middle, and end, you know. So hopefully next session we have a good discussion. And we have some possibilities. Conliffe?
Yes, I have been following and I've been taking notes. I've been doing screenshots of definitely going to watch the Oliver for the synopsis and to prepare something for next week. I plan to stay for all 3 sessions. No problem. I'm doing well.
And for all of you, I don't know what Michael thinks of this, but I think that in a way, every artist is a thief. You know, we are all fashioned by our exposure to the world and what we see. So when you watch movies, it might give you ideas for your story. You read a play, it might give you ideas for a story, right? You read a poem, it might give you ideas for a story. Okay. You don't have to invent everything from your own life, you know, and then you might have experiences that you want to write about. And I find that this kind of creative work, a good time to really focus in on it is shortly before you go off to bed and just as you're waking up. That is a time when the creative juices seem to be alive. I, as a director, have found that to be so. I've solved many problems in a production that way. Assistant Rad, who's that? Assistant Rad? Assistant Rad? Suzette?
I am here.
I'm right here, you know.
Okay, Suzette, you're rearing to go?
Yes, I'm here. I have realized that I had the wrong concept altogether about playwriting. And everything became clear. When you give those 2 examples with the burglar, with the window, I think that's when everything start to come clearer to me. About, I think I was more thinking about, I was more in a dialogue mode. I think maybe because I've watched so many plays, I I don't think about what goes in, and you have helped me to realize that it's more, there's a lot of work involved. It's not as simple as how it looks. So I've taken a lot of notes because I realized I was at sea when it comes on to playwriting. So I did, and I was very quiet, if you notice, most of the time.
Yeah,
Because
but
normally when I don't know much about, so I tend to listen more.
well, okay. And the notes is one thing, but the play has to come from you. The creativity
Yeah.
and imagination is you. So I'm sure you have things to offer because you have lived.
Yes. Well, I'll try. Definitely. I think it's good when you can try something that will stretch you instead of doing something that you're used to.
Mm.
So, and I've seen a lot of plays, and I would definitely like to learn more. I'm looking forward to the other 2 sessions. Definitely.
Mr. Radcliffe, you are coming with your stuff as well, right? You are not just the doorman. Radcliffe? Michael?
I see you're missing me, Sir Williams. And before we absolutely lose all the participants, I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you so very much, Sir Williams. You know, I thought I knew, but I learned. And I can just anticipate what part 2 will be like. I'm also thankful for all the persons who stayed on and took in the gem that you had to offer. So part 2 next week, Saturday. Lady Audrey, I certainly hope your soup will be finished by then. But thank you so very much, Sir Williams, and thank you for all the participants. And we look forward to part 2 of 3 next week, Saturday, same time.
Okay. Michael, I didn't.
Is there an evaluation? Sorry, is there an evaluation to do?
The evaluation will actually be coming next week.
All right, cool. Just checking.
Thank you. No problem.
Michael, you still here?
Didn't miss a word. Enjoyed it thoroughly. And you encapsulated just about all that I taught in my 13-week course at the drama school.
Yeah.
You got it all condensed.
Yeah. That's what I try to do, to condense it. And so I feel that some of it might have been overwhelming, but we shall see. We shall see. All right, guys. Thank you all very much.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Damien,
All right,
please send me the email addresses so I can.
Will do, sir. Will do. All right. Walk good, ladies and gents.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. See you next week, Saturday.
Very good hosting as usual, Damien.
Thank you, Sir Record. Thank you so very much.
Right.
Oh, guys, remember next week, Thursday, we continue with part 2 of short story. That's with Dr. Spencer. And then we go on Saturday with Sir William. So see you Thursday and Saturday. Walk good. Thank you, Sir Record. Bye, guys.